Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit more personal. And by personal, I mean it's not necessarily, well, it's not a review in the slightest. I've been talking about my new server build for ages, and the drives I bought, crikey, I think it was like September or October last year that I bought them. They've probably come down in price now, knowing my luck. But it's something that I've been kind of dithering with for ages, because the problem with the site is, and especially when I'm sat there, you know, at my rig all day doing all the business stuff and like the reviews and, you know, sorting out all the parts. When I finish in the evenings, I've obviously now got the responsibility of having my little sister living with me. You know, in the evenings I can't sit around like I used to, because before, if I was awake, I was generally working if I was indoors. Didn't really watch a lot of telly, or, you know, unless it was up in the office. So now my working day is much shorter, which is much healthier. I have a much kind of like better lifestyle now, but it does impact massively on the stuff that I get to share with you lot. So this is, I'm going to make a conscious effort of trying to make videos as we go through, but obviously I need the masses to watch them as well, because there's no point me spending time on a video if people aren't going to watch them. And then sometimes it's just easier for me to just smash everything together and start using it. But I'll kind of wet your whistle with the parts in this video, and then there will be little bits and bobs. It's not going to be a normal chuck it together, don't particularly worry about it server. There's a lot of little bits and bobs that I'm going to try and explain to you in this one, and we'll go, you know, hopefully it will kind of, like I said, wet your whistle. We're going to base the entire rig in, you know, in the shell wise, in the Fractal R5. I reviewed it recently. I really liked it. I did have another case planned for this, and it's been sat ready for ages, just literally waiting for me to get around to doing it. But I'm changing completely now to the R5 because I completely fell in love with it, and it's not going to be like any massive like changes or anything. But when I did the Fractal review, they also sent me a window case. So I've got a window one and a normal one. So what I'm going to do is I've got a second set of drive cages from the other one. Now that might seem mental. Probably not going to run a full stack of 2. I might just have like 10 in the front or something, because I have 10 Western Digital Reds, 4 terabytes, and that's where the name kind of comes from. So I've got 10 4 terabyte Reds. Now people may think, Jesus Christ, how much porn have you got, Tom, to need 40 terabytes of space? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to have 5 of each in RAID 6 arrays. So I'll only actually get 3 drives usable in each array. So you're only going to get 24 terabytes there or thereabouts usable at the end of it. I'll lose 2 for parity. Now that basically means that I've got 2 drives that can die in each array, and then I can just slot new ones in and they'll work. Now I'm going to have to go through all the process because I've not got hot swaps or backplanes or anything, so I am going to have to go through all the mumbo jumbo of marking all the drives, numbering them all. It's going to be a proper pain in the arse, but then if one goes down, I'm going to be able to swap them out a lot easier. But we're going to sort that out. You will see that I've got 10 drives there, and then I've got an 11th. Now the 11th is just me thinking forward. I've still got, when I built the last server, which is still running, I bought an extra drive when I bought those drives as well, and it's just in case one goes down, you've got one you can instantly swap in and change. It's just kind of there as a backup, really. So we've got that. Then the hard drive, the motherboard that I'm going to be using is complete and utter overkill. I'm just going to put it on the floor. I'm going to be using the Asus Z97 Deluxe. Now I'm going for a black and red theme. I'm going for a white and red theme, so the theming on these don't really work that well. But these gold bits can actually be unscrewed. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm either going to unscrew them, or if I can get them stripped and maybe anodized red, I might do that. But the gold will be disappearing, which will please many of you, because it wouldn't really work with the theme. So we've got that. The CPU that I'm going to use because many of you are now thinking, oh, what, is this going to be the website server or something? And it's not, it's actually just my home server. I run Plex on it. I've got a set of cloud software on it so that the reviewers store all of their review data here. Because every single review that we do, we take screenshots of every single benchmark and we keep records of everything. So if anyone was ever to say, there's no way that you got that overclock or you got that score or you did this or you got that, we've got records of everything. It also makes it a lot easier when we can go back through our screenshots to look and compare and stuff as well. Because sometimes when we look back through, there's little things that we haven't really picked up on and stuff like that. So it's just a really good source for us. And that's one of the things that I do with this. But also I'm a massive Plex user. So I've got a Plex library, it streams to my telly, streams to my phone, and I should make a video about it really, but the good thing about Plex is I've got a Plex Pass, which means I've got the full version because I did some stuff with them when they first started coming out. But essentially I've got the phone app. So with my phone I've just got a Note 3. When I go to like my girlfriend's house or friends' houses and stuff, I can just sign in on their wireless and stream my films to my phone, and I've got a cable that I can plug my phone into the TV. So it's essentially like having every DVD that I own in my pocket, and we can just choose a film, press play, boom, it streams it onto the telly, 1080p, and it's really, really simple. So in that respect, you know, Plex is epic. Also keeps my sister entertained and stuff. So I do use it for obviously storing like the videos from YouTube and like the raw footage and stuff. But then we have like the website, I'll say the website, but the reviewer side of it, and obviously my Plex as well. And the Plex library is pretty massive. But anyway, you don't necessarily need a lot of CPU power for that. And it's more about keeping the power draw down as much as possible, because most of the time it's not really sat there doing anything. So I've got the i3 4130, and it's the really low TDP one. I think this one's 35 watts or something. So I'm really actually quite anxious to see how much power it draws, because the original server, the 2012 server as it was named, TTL 2012, that one is on a UPS, so I can see how much watts it's pulling, and it's normally just sat there around the kind of sort of like 90 watt mark. Fully loaded, I don't think I've ever seen it pulling more than about 130. Obviously loading the CPU up is about 130 top. So I'm quite interested to see if we can get this down into the sort of like 50, 60 watts kind of territory. But I know it might even be lower, so it could be great. It's got a little baby CPU as far as that's concerned. Cooler wise, I could quite easily get away with using the tiny little Noctua, and this is the NHL9i, but I'm not going to. In the other server that I built, I used the L12, and I really like it. And bearing in mind it's running there now, it's running all the time. I've only ever really restart it periodically. But it's got a nice downdraft, push down cooler on it, so the little bit of air that it does move helps keep the air moving around the motherboard and the electrical area and stuff like that. So I'm going to use this one again. This is a new one, I'm not using the same one, but yeah, I've got another Noctua. And then the fans, I'm still not 100% sure about what I'm going to do. Have got a few that I want to test with. I've got some more of the E-loops, which is the fans that I used in the Parvum case review, and they were here for this, but they kind of match, so I use them. But I've got 3 here, and I've got another 3 in the Parvum case, so I'm going to have a play with these. But it's really going to come down to how quiet I can get stuff, but also with a reasonable amount of airflow. Because obviously if I've got 2 stacks, I mean, I don't know how the front of the case is going to come together yet, whether I'm going to have 2 stacks of 5, if that'll fit in, or whether I'll have, you know, 2 separate stacks of, I really don't know. I've got 10 drives that I need to get in there, plus the solid state drive, which is a Kingston, which is a Kingston 100 gigabyte. It's the SSD now 50E. It's one of their more kind of like professional ones, and by professional I mean it's built for real abuse. And although it's not necessarily going to get humongous amounts of abuse in this system, it's never a bad thing to have something that's going to be, you know, is more than up to the job, and it's pretty quick as well. On the label it's saying 550 reads and 530 writes, which is going to be epic. So we're going to have that in there. Keep with the theme, we're obviously going for white and red. I've got 2 packs of HyperX Fury. Now it's not massively, I don't need loads of RAM, it doesn't. It's just the white and the red is going to look really nice together. So we're going to have a white and red Fury in there. And you may have noticed, quite surprisingly, there's no Corsair. Now that's actually a conscious effort on my part, because I obviously do a lot of work with Corsair. The bench rigs are in Corsair cases, Corsair power supplies, memory and stuff. So every now and then I do a rig which I specifically go, no, I'm not going to put any of that in there. And this is the rare one that I'm not going to put any Corsair in. It would be really easy for me to do it, to be fair. Easily put power supply in there, the memory, cooler, not so much because I want to go air cooling, but I could obviously put fans in. It could have been a Corsair case. But once you kind of get to the Fractal case point, it's just easier to just go, right, no, I'm just going to just mix it all up for a change. So it's the one that when people go, oh no, you use it all the time, I can go, actually, no I don't. Which is probably good, because when I do my main rig later on, that's all Corsair, Asus and bits power. So yeah, but anyway, so this is the mix-up one. When it comes to power, what I am still, and this is something you lot can help me with, there are a few things that you can help me with. I do read the comments underneath, so you can put it there. Facebook, or if you go to the thread on the forums, that would be a really good place for you to kind of come and talk to me, because I can talk to you easier on the forum and I can follow the conversations. But I reviewed the LeadX Gold just recently. It's a white 650 watt power supply. Now the 650 watt is ridiculous overkill, massive overkill. But the reason for me using this is it's white. I think I've put it all away properly. Yeah, I have actually put it all away properly for a change. Have I even put it in its bag? Yeah, I've even put it in its bag. LeadX 650 watt would be because it's white. In the other server that I've got, that one is a passive Seasonic unit. I think it's Seasonic. I really can't remember that. It might be Silverstone, I can't remember. It's all made by Seasonic anyway. So the other option is for me to use the XFX XTS 520. This one's a little black unit, fully modular. It's passive as well, there's no fan in there whatsoever. My reason for using this is the guys at Cable Mod make Seasonic cables, and where there's Seasonic pin out, because it's just a rebranded Seasonic unit, I can easily get some red cloth paracord cables for these. I have reviewed the cables. I can just grab some because I have them in the drawer. See, I've got all the colours, so when it comes to videos I can just grab the colours because it makes my life so much easier. But I can get a set of the red paracord cables, which again for a server is ridiculous, but it's my server, so it needs to be a little bit overkill. So we could use these with the paracord cables, and then that would be quite literally just click in. If I was to use the LeadX ones, they're much more difficult for me to be able to get cables, and if I was going to do that, then I'd end up talking to Pexon, which is the custom guy, and I'd end up asking him for a set of the, well, it'd have to be red again, but I'd end up asking him for a red cable set to come with it. But if I talk to Pex, then I could even get him to make me a monstrous SATA cable to power all the SATAs. I'm not even sure whether you should really hang 10 SATAs off of one. But I can't really see too much problem with it with the LeadX, because they're all pretty bomb-proof and it's single rail anyway. So it might not be too much of an issue, but that could be something I could talk to him about. If you're looking at custom cables as well, I've mentioned all the little guys quite a bit recently, but give Pexon a look. He even made the custom cables for my studio monitors that I use on my main rig. But anyway, so we've got that. Now, the RAID card, and this is where it gets a little bit daft, really. I've got it over here to the left. It's an Adaptec unit, and it's the 81605ZQ. It's a 16-port Adaptec RAID card, and it does look a bit bare at the moment because the heatsink is in my hand, which I'll explain to you why in a minute. But there's the RAID card. So there's 2 attachments there, there's 2 attachments there, and quite randomly, the cables are normally always bloody red, and these ones, for some strange reason, are white. I have got a battery pack for it as well. I don't know whether it's still in the box, but I have got a battery pack for it anyway. So we've got the old Adaptec Now the cooling requirements for the little heatsink were quite a lot. It was 80 CFM it needed minimum to keep it cool, and these things can get really warm. So essentially what I'd done is I had a word with my mate Nate, and I got him to make me up a copper plate, and that is the exact same footprint as the plate here, apart from it's made out of 3mm copper. I've actually got two, because what we're going to do is we're going to have a little bit of a test, because I'm not 100% sure which way I'm going to swing with the cooling. I know which one's going to work better, but I need to see them in the flesh and look at the numbers before I make the choice. So we're either going to have an air-cooled version, but rather than that little itty bitty heatsink, I've got this massive, and it's designed for a graphics card, and it's the Accelero S1 Plus by Arctic Cooling. Now what we would do is the plate at the bottom, which would normally go on your graphics card, we're going to thermal bond this, which is basically like an epoxy resin with thermal pasting, and we bond that down onto it, and then you'll have a RAID card with that massive heatsink on it. That's quite big. I know it's going to need supporting. It'll be stuff that I'll need to work on, but that is option number one. Option number two will be using the other plate, and then what we would do is I've got a Fractal Kelvin, and it's the 120mm fan version. So then we bond the cooling plate that would normally go on a CPU onto this copper bit, and then we would run the RAID card off of an AIO 120mm cooling loop. So we technically have a water-cooled RAID card, but with an AIO. Now with they're not very loud. I'd hardly have to have the fan on because it's not going to make that much heat. And the AIO one is the kind of more shock tactics, but the air-cooled one will make it look more of a normal rig inside, because it'll almost look like there's a graphics card in there. But I've got to play around with sizing and stuff, because I don't know whether the chip on the RAID card is too close to the PCI Express to be able to actually fit the air cooler. There's loads of bits and bobs that could turn out to be a complete and utter pain in the bum until I really get there, and the copper plate from Nate only turned up this week, so I do have to still play around. It may well end up being a water-cooled RAID card, but we'll see, and that's all going to be part of the journey, because like I said, it's not going to be just your normal thing. Do you know what I mean? I want it to be that little bit different, so I can put a bit of effort in, and then it'll be that little bit special, and it'll also be something that you guys will want to listen to as well, watch and all that type of thing. Now, one of the things that I need your help with, other than deciding about power supplies and stuff, I would really like your feedback on those, because I don't necessarily need passive. The LeadX will be semi-passive anyway if I turn it onto eco mode, and it'll probably never spin up with the load that we put on this. There's not going to be a great deal between them as far as efficiency is concerned, because like I said, it's probably going to be pulling about 100 watts tops, and I'd be surprised if it got there. So it's a bit of a one. I'm kind of leading towards the LeadX because it's white and the connectors will light up white. But the only thing with the LeadX is, like I said, if I wanted the cables red, I'd have to talk to Pexon, and it might turn out to be a right pain in the bum. I think I'd have to send him the cables on there because he can't buy the connectors, and I wouldn't want to put the stress on him to try and get it done quickly. Whereas with the XTS 520s, those cables could be here by Wednesday, and it would be easier. But I'm trying to, find my way that I can try and help people with a bit of exposure, and yeah, we'll have to see. Maybe I should just say to Pexon, how quickly can you do it? Pexon, how quickly can you do it? Please message me on Facebook. So we have that. I've also got to decide about the front cages, which is something we'll have to do in a video. But it's the name that I'm really struggling with, because the servers before, it's been TTL something. Like the last one was TTL 2012 server, and I don't want it to be the TTL 2015 server. And I did come up with the idea of 1540 or 1450, or sorry, 1540 or 4015, because 40 terabytes are going to be going in there, give or take. I know it's not all going to be accessible, but there's 40 terabytes of drives going in, and then 2015. But then I didn't really particularly like it, and I did come up with I put the screen up, I was kind of brainstorming ideas and stuff like that for names, and then I thought about RedForty, then when I looked at that, and I'll bring this screen up, when I looked at that, I liked that a little bit more. That seems to work, and I think that could be quite a cool little logo, or at least an initial concept for a logo there. But I'm no graphic designer. But if you are, or you're good with Photoshop, or you know someone that is, that might want to help me out with this, either post it on to one of the Facebook pages. I need to see pictures and ideas, basically. If you can help me with something like that, and we get to a point where I go, right, I'm going to use your design, and I take your design and I use it, or I'll talk to you about what kit that you've got, and see if I haven't got something here that I can help you out with. Now, I'm not going to say specifically, because everyone's rigs are a little bit different, but I'm sure I've got something left over from a review, or a feature or something that we've done that I can bung you in the post. Doesn't matter where you live, because it'll be fine, I'll post it. But I might be able to help you out with something different. It might even be to the point I've got some random bloody leftover promotional stuff, because I've got boxes of hats and bloody stickers and leftover stuff, and when we've done shows and stuff in the past, MSI, Asus, all kind of Corsair. Christ, I've got loads of Corsair stuff. But yeah, you could end up getting that, maybe some kit. It really depends. I don't want to say I'm going to give this specific thing, because I always try and like to engineer it around something that you may need more. If you come to me and ask for a 5960X or a Rampage 5, then I'm probably just going, that ain't going to happen. It's just not, unless it starts raining from the heavens. It's not something I'm going to be able to work with. But sensible stuff, maybe a solid state drive, maybe a memory kit. You might need some fans for your rig. I've got gazillions of Corsair fans. Little sensible stuff that's surplus to requirements here. That's the best way I can put it. And that's if you would like to help. But that's the idea. The last time I had this little idea, it was for the Nürburg rig, and that's how I met Alan, who ended up making all the intro. He actually makes the intro from this video, the OC 3D one with the woo. That's how I met Alan. So maybe I can meet somebody else amazing out there, and this can be the start of your graphical skills. So that's just chucking it out there. If you want to help, otherwise we're going to end up with something dodgy like you saw before. But anyway, right, so we've had a long and meaty video. I'm going to pretty much render this straight away and put it straight up for you. I think, what's the time now? It's 20 to 10 on Friday night. I'm just going to put it up, and then I'm going to go and get in the shower and go to bed. But I'd love to see your thoughts, feedback on this. I know it's a little bit mental. I know we've I've been sat here talking to you about it. But this was the way I used to do stuff way back in the day. So maybe it can still work. They're raw and just unflipping, just the way I've always done stuff, really, because I'm a bit rough around the edges. I'm not prim and proper. I swear lots. That's just me. So, maybe this still works. I don't know. But I'm going to love you and leave you, and hopefully get some lovely feedback from you guys. But for now, at least, this is Time Some Logan with another video for you. Out. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, wah. Gone.